Brothers and sisters, Passover is not about lambs. Passover is not about blood. Passover is not about unleavened bread. Passover isn't about any of these symbols. Passover is about one man and one man only. Have I got your attention yet? Brothers and sisters, welcome back to the Behaviour Revolution. My name's Mark, and I really hope and pray with all my heart that you can see this amazing message I want to talk to you about today, all about Passover. We at the Behaviour Revolution seem to be screaming, shouting from the rooftops this message of behaviour and how it can unlock a deep and personal relationship with your master, with your bridegroom, Yahusha. And we're getting it out there and saying it to people. And the bride, those who call themselves the bride, the 𝗪𝗔𝗧𝗖𝗛, whatever you want to call it, they're just putting their heads back down into their scriptures and their liturgy and their seriousness. And we're saying, look, Yahusha's here. Look, you can have a real relationship with Yahusha, yourself, one-on-one. And they, where's that written? Where's the text for that? What scripture is that in? You can have him. You can have Yahusha. And that's what I want to talk about the feasts today for. Because unlocking the context, having the Ruach inside you and understanding these things in a 21st century context. Brothers and sisters, I'm going to go into this because I'm pretty fired up about it. Because when Yahusha shows you something, you just have to tell people. You just have to tell people because otherwise, what was it for? Today I want to talk about eating and drinking unworthily, and I want to talk about gathering, and I want to talk about having your Passover properly, real, having a real feast, behaving in sincerity and truth. Behaving in sincerity and truth. All right? That's what I want to do. And I'm not here to tell you that you're wrong. I'm here to tell you that come and check this out. The master's over here. Come over here. Get out of this pasture over here that you've been walking around in for years and years. It's just full of sheep poo and wee and filth, and you're walking around in circles in your own dung. Come over here. Look, he's over there. Look, he's over here. Come, brothers and sisters. You can have him. Enter boldly. You can come and have him. You don't have to do all this seriousness that the teachers are telling you. But it's up to you. You can have him for yourself and feel alive and amazing. But you've got to walk out of all the other stuff. You've got to come out. You've got to come out. Come out from the masses. Come out from the world. Come out from religion. Come out from Christendom. Come out from Yahudah, Jewish, come out from all of it. Come out from the Messianic. Come out from the 𝗪𝗔𝗧𝗖𝗛, come out from all of it and have him. He's not interested in what you call yourselves. Come and have him, all right? Have I done this enough yet? Come. Behaving in sincerity and truth, brothers and sisters. At Passover, we are warned not to eat and drink unworthily. In 1 Corinthians, we are told not to eat or drink unworthily and not to observe the festival with the old leaven. Not to observe the festival with the old leaven. So, in 1 Corinthians 5, 6-8, your boasting is not good. Your boasting is not good. Do you not know that a little leaven leavens the entire lump? Therefore cleanse out the old leaven so that you are a new lump, as you are unleavened. For also Mashiach, our Passover, was offered for us. So then let us observe the festival not with the old leaven, nor with the leaven of evil and wickedness, but with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth. The scripture says that. The unleavened bread of sincerity and truth. What is unleavened? What is leaven? What is leaven? That's what we're going to talk about. What is leaven? Leaven is anything that rises above, lifts themselves up, wants to stamp something with their self. I did that. Yes. I did that. Come on. Bring it on. Oh, no. I did that. The I. That's leaven. Things that puff up. Disobedience. Lawlessness. False teachings. Mindset. Strongholds. That's all leaven. It's all witchcraft. It's all satanic. It's all from the enemy. It's all from the enemy, and it's all to make us, mankind, and individually feel like we can do this. We are, I don't have to put up with that. I. That's the leaven. I. So let's read that scripture again with the understanding of what leaven is. Leaven is a behavior. What? Leaven is a behavior, brothers and sisters. A behavior. You can either have old behavior or new behavior. Your boasting is not good. Do you not know that a little leaven, a little bit of lawless behavior and traditions, your leaven leavens the entire lump? In other words, one evil choice will spread throughout the whole behavior. You choose one evil thing to do in a day, evil according to Torah, what Yahusha says, and then you will have to spend the rest of the day and possibly the rest of the week and the rest of your life, if you choose to, covering it up, lie upon lie upon lie in your behavior, covering up that one evil decision, because that's how it goes. Once you do a sin, you're a slave to it. So a little bit of leaven leavens the whole lump. He's talking about bread because this is the symbol he used back then at this moment. Bread, because he knew these people would understand bread. You know why? Because they ate bread all the time. Bread. So he used the symbol of bread. So, therefore, cleanse out the old leaven so that you are a new lump. New lump of what? As you are unleavened. For also Mashiach our Passover was offered for us. Mashiach our Passover was offered for us. Did that scripture just say that he was the Passover? He was the Passover. Mashiach our Passover was offered for us. So it's not an event. I thought it was an event. Sounds like from this scripture that the Passover is a person. So then let us observe the festival, not with old leaven, not with old traditions, not with old behavior, nor with the leaven of evil and wickedness. Obviously, don't come to a feast if you want to do evil and wicked things to people. But with the unleavened bread, unleavened behavior of sincerity and truth. See how by putting the word behavior in every single scripture, because that's what the whole scripture is there to teach us, how to behave. It makes so much sense. Don't come to the festival and start behaving like they did millennia ago. Come with sincerity and truth. So what's he saying to do? He's saying what not to do. Don't be unleavened. Don't come with the old ways. Don't come with the old traditions, old behaviours, disobedient, lawless, all that. Don't come with the old stuff. What do we do then? How do we come to the festival? What should our mindset be when we come to the festival? Sincerity and truth. He said to the woman at the well, worship me in spirit and in truth. One day, everybody, don't worry about that mountain or what they're all going about. Yeah. I only want people who are going to worship me, behave, because that's what worship is, behave in spirit and in truth. We've got the spirit, and we're learning how to be truthful in everything we do, behaving truthfully. And now here, we're told to do this festival. The way to not eat and drink unworthily is to be behaving sincerely and truthfully. Let me say that again. The way to not be eating and drinking unworthily, and therefore bringing a curse, is to be behaving sincerely and truthfully. That's it. I could end the video right now. That's all Yahusha is looking for from his bride. Sincerity and truth. A worship, a behaviour, a love that is sincere and truthful. What is sincere? We know what truth is. Tell the truth. Tell the truth or a lie. What does sincere mean? We're going to go into sincere because I think, if you're anything like me, I didn't really know what sincere meant. So the truth is whatever Yahusha declares is right and wrong. He's written it all down in his Torah, what's right and what's wrong. And you need Yahusha's Ruach inside you to understand what is cultural, what is for that era, that time set, for that particular nation, for that particular person even. And what is everlasting? What stands the test of time? What instructions are we to hold on to until he comes back and we can meet him? What are we supposed to guard? Yeah? So that's truth. The things we guard are the truth. But what is sincerity? In the English, simple English dictionary, sincerity is the absence of pretense, deceit or hypocrisy, honesty, genuineness, truthfulness, integrity, probity, trustworthiness, wholeheartedness, seriousness, earnestness, straightforwardness, openness, candour, candidness, guilelessness, ingenuousness. So that gives us some understanding of what sincerity means in the English language. Just be real. Just be real. If you've got a problem, you just talk about it. You don't just come to a feast with a little prayer book and a liturgy and say, okay, everybody turn to page 43 in the Passover book. We are going to start reading. Ready? Go. Leave your problems at the door. It's a serious business. Yahusha wants us to do the Passover right now. All right. Go. What's that? What's that? You come to a feast with friends or with family, and every single gathering is going to be different. Because Yahusha is doing very different things in all his bride. If you are gathering with family that know you really well, or believers that know you really well, you come together, you greet each other with a set-apart kiss, and you are what you are. If you've just been caught in traffic for an hour and you're about to, scream at someone, just get there and say, I'm so angry, I've just been caught in traffic, this happened and this happened and this happened, this happened, this happened, and you get it all out of you and you're transparent, you're having a real relationship. You are who you are, you're real. And everyone goes, oh, isn't that dreadful, da, da, da. And it's all out of you, and you can come together and have a nice time. If you've got problems, you talk about them, But you might be doing a setting where you've got really younger believers and you want to actually sit down and teach them a little bit as well. You can do that as well. There's no problem with that. It's got to be sincere and truthful, not some liturgy that we do every single year, in and out, in and out. It's real. And the thing about the bride, the sheep and the shepherd, is the shepherd's always moving. The shepherd's going on. So you don't do what you did last year, because that's just religious, isn't it? Doing the same thing over and over again. That's liturgy, And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But before we do that, let's find out what sincerity is in the Hebrew language, because the Hebrew is the only real language on the face of the earth. It was here before we were. Adam and Kovah spoke Hebrew. Yahusha, when he created the whole earth, spoke in Hebrew. So, in the Hebrew language, sincerity is complete, entire, sincere, uprightly, without guile, unadulterated, the spiritual, belonging to the reason, without blame, clearly, and the pure influence. Put all those things onto your vessel, onto your behaviour, and go, if I'm going to behave sincerely, I will be blameless. Clearly, you're speaking clear. You are, let your yes be yes, let your no be no. You're being who you are. You're genuine, an open book. You are telling the truth about your feelings in the moment. All right. Honesty, the pure influence of what you're doing. Now, let's keep going. If you read the Last Supper, the account of the Last Supper in all four Gospels, there are subtle differences in the language of each account. And when all four chapters are read together, we get a very full understanding of what happened on the night before Yahusha's death. We're going right to the night before Yahusha's death because that's the closest we can get to when he instructed his emissaries. If you read John chapter 13 to 17, then you read Luke chapter 22, then you read Matthew chapter 26, and then you read Mark 14, you get from 4 different men what happened on the night before. And it's very interesting. Don't just read one, because you get 4 accounts of it. And they all explain the same thing. All their testimonies line up. But they explain different nuances of what happened. You know, some guys leave a little bit of this out and a little bit of that out. But when you read all 4 of them, you get a clear picture of what happened that night. The mood, the feeling, the atmosphere. That's what we all want, isn't it? So read those. I'm not going to read 8 chapters on the video here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 chapters. I'm not going to read 6 chapters on the video here. You can read those in your own time and get a full understanding of what the Last Supper is. Yahusha had a very intimate private meal and conversation with his closest emissaries, followers, about many things. But it was just with them, not us. He was meeting with them, not us. Yes, all scripture is Yahusha breathed and powerful for our teaching, reproof, correction and training. Yes, we know that up front. All scripture is there to teach us and reprove us and discipline us. All good for our training. However, we must know our place in the story. We must know our place in the story, where we fit into the prophetic history in these last days, and we must rely completely on Yahusha's ruach within us to reveal the often hidden context, so that we can receive the relevant instruction and behave accordingly. Because that's what we want, isn't it? To know how to behave. What do we do when we come to the feasts? How do we behave? What are we supposed to do? We might be gathering with people we don't know very well. We might be gathering with people that are just like family. We don't know. How are we supposed to behave? Even though we can look back with the perspective of history, we don't have the right to transpose ourselves into this Passover story. It's got nothing to do with us. We weren't there. We don't have the right to transpose ourselves into this Passover story, whether it be the Egypt, deliverance, Exodus Passover story, or whether it be the Last Supper night before Yahusha died Passover story. That was what he told them to do with Musa when they were leaving Egypt, and that's what he gathered his emissaries to do the night before he died. Why did he gather the night before he died? Why didn't he celebrate the Passover with them as it was happening? Because he was the Passover. You can't celebrate it when you're hanging on a tree, can you? In agony. That's the only reason he gathered with them the night before. There is no significance whatsoever about the night before Yahusha died. Have you faced that? Or are you gathering the night before Passover for some reason? Why would you commemorate the commemoration of the Passover? You commemorate Yahusha, who died on smack bang as the spotless lamb. Why would you gather the night before as well? He gathered the night before because he couldn't be there the next day because he was dead shortly after. Brothers and sisters, you see how things are being added and weird things are being done in the body? You don't have to do all this stuff. The Passover season goes for a whole week. And we want to argue about the moon. And we want to argue about when we should gather. We want to argue about this and we want to argue about that. And while we're arguing and finding out all this useless stuff, Yahusha's over here going, come on in. I don't know, we're working out what day to come and meet you. I'm over here right now. No, it's not, the moon's not right yet. I can't come and see you yet. I'm not right yet. Look, the moon's not right. Look. And he's over here partying on. Come over here, guys. Come on over. No, I can't. Just like the Pharisees did when he walked around. They got their rules and their laws and their institutions and their festivals and their this and that and this and that, and Yahusha's just walking among them, having a good old time, healing people right under their noses and then buggering off. You know, like he's having a ball, and they're like, isn't that what the bride's doing today? How do we? Oh, it's so confusing to come to the feast. We don't know what to do at the feast. You don't have to do anything. That's the whole point. I'll go into that some more. I'll get too worked up otherwise. We don't have the right to transpose ourselves into this Passover story. This isn't our Passover story. This was their Passover story, what happened for them in Egypt and what happened for them the night before Yahusha died. It's got nothing to do with us. Yeah, we read it and we understand it and we learn behaviours and stuff, but it's nothing to do with us. We don't have to do the same thing. Otherwise, where should we draw the line with our understanding? Where should we draw the line with our obedience and our imitation of Scripture? Where should we draw the line? Do we turn off all our electricity so we can be like them? Do we just light candles and have no electricity so we can be like they were back then? Because, you know, we've got to reenact this whole thing properly, you know. Should we abandon modern hygiene and not wash ourselves? Don't have a shower for a few days so that when we come together, someone's going to wash your feet, all right? Just come to the feast, you know, make sure you've got as much cow dung and horse on your feet as possible, because someone's the best servant in the room is going to come down and we're going to wash each other's feet, you know? We've got to take this literally, don't we? So, you know, should we abandon modern hygiene so we can instead boil water and wash each other's feet? Many people do. Should we wear first century robes, tassels, garments, 𝗧𝗓𝗪, kill a lamb, drink red wine, grape juice? Only. It's Passover. You can only drink red wine or something that's red. Only bake unleavened bread over a fire. Put all our attention into the cooking of a lamb and bitter herbs. Yahusha's over here partying. Come on over. No, we're cooking our lamb, thanks. And we'll be ready to meet you, Yahusha, tomorrow when our lamb is, you know. But I'm over here, guys. Come on, I want to help you. Give you a hug. No, we can't do that yet. Look, I'm getting all worked up. Look at my underarms. I'm getting all hot. Look at that. It's hot in here today. Or maybe it's just me. This gives me the tom tits watching all this madness go on. We live in the 21st century, brothers and sisters. 21st century. Are we supposed to be sitting there roasting bitter herbs, acting all sorrowful and somber? Sorrowful and somber as we perform lofty prayers while holding up a little cup of wine. This is my wine and this is my bread. You know, staring blankly at a piece of bread like some freaky transubstantiation hangover. Remember, like the Catholics do? Catholics do it. How often do the Catholics do it? Oh, they do it every week, don't they? They'll do it every day if you ask a Catholic. Yeah, we transubstantiate every day. Have you transubstantiated today? You know? Christians do it once a week or once a month. The Messianics and the Naturum do it once a year. What's all this bread and wine stuff? What's that about? What are we? It's madness. Holding up a piece of bread and a piece of wine and thank you, Yahusha, for dying for me. What's all this? What's that? Where did that come from? Yahusha never told us to do that. This is ridiculous, but sadly, see, I'm being humorous. So I'm trying to be humorous, brothers and sisters, and light for you so you can grasp this truth. Because Yahusha is funny and Yahusha is light. Yes, he has a serious message of deliverance. Yes, Yahusha is very serious at the core, but he has a sense of humour. He's light, pleasant, you know. Yahusha's a ball. Yahusha's a hoot. Come into it, brothers and sisters. Oh, I'll be ready to come into it when my lamb's finished cooking. Why? You don't even need a lamb. How do we glean the context? The correct truths in context. How do we take what's written thousands of years ago, read it in context, and glean the truth? How do we glean the truth from this wonderful account? You read all the accounts from all the four men and it's amazing. So uplifting of what Yahusha went through to calm his emissaries, to make sure they were prepared and ready. And he bent over backwards to make sure they understood what was about to happen, even though they still didn't really until it happened. But you feel like when you read all those different accounts, you feel like you're part of it, that you were there and that it was a very special moment with his followers. How are we supposed to glean the correct truths in context from this wonderful account of our Messiah's last meal with his followers for our lives today in the 21st century and not make a complete mockery, of this appointed time through immaturity and childish literalism. Immaturity and childish literalism. When we don't understand too much of the scripture and we're just looking at other men, that's the biggest problem, looking at other men. We sort of latch on to what we're told and we believe it, and it's not about the amount of study. You don't get mature and overcome this world by study. Study's cool, study's good, but that's not how, that study gives you knowledge. And knowledge is what puffs people up. Because the one in the room with the most knowledge becomes the teacher. The one who can quote the most scripture is the teacher. The honoured one in the room. And who doesn't like being honoured? Who doesn't like being treated nicely? Sure, Yahusha wasn't though. He wasn't treated nicely. So whatever the teachers are doing, that's not what... Yahusha was the opposite. He was the servant who was trodden on, treated like complete garbage. So there's nothing wrong with studying, but looking to men, looking to stay immature and be fed the milk. We've got to grow up, brothers and sisters. We've all latched onto men and we've all had a great time doing it. We've all put good work into the world, but that's fine. It's time for us all to listen to Yahusha's voice now and grow up and go forward with what he wants us to do. Childish literalism, I'm going to go into that a bit later, because that's all to do with symbols, holding on to symbols, taking the symbols literally, like I've been doing tongue-in-cheek as we've gone along about the lamb and the other things, you know, the studying while Yahusha's over here. Come on in, come on in. No. Why do we hold on to immaturity and childish literalism? When there is a lack of true lionizing love. When there is a lack of true lionizing love, passionate adoration for Yahusha, wanting his presence, wanting his feeling, his love surging through you. When there's a lack of lionizing love and a lack of Yahusha's ruach of truth in a room, men will automatically resort to liturgy and tradition, because we can't just do nothing. We've still got to show up and the show's got to go on. Because, you know, unless you're going to be sincere and truthful, which most people aren't, you've got to still do something. So we resort to liturgy. Liturgy and tradition. When there's a lack of true lionizing love and a lack of Yahusha's ruach, man will automatically resort to liturgy and tradition to fill that void and continue in a religious keeping up appearances behaviour, which is old leaven. Keep going. People are going to show up. I've got to say something. I've got to teach something. I better do, you know, we'll just do what we did last week and, you know, refresh it, revamp it. You know, we've got to keep it going. Don't all Bible study, church studies, Bible, don't all these religious gatherings, Messianic Natural, do all this serious stuff week to week, the same thing, in and out, in and out. Where's Yahusha's ruach? Where's the freshness? Where is it? Where's the electricity in the room? That's what Yahusha brings. So we bring this old leaven behaviour, passing this down from generation to generation until the original shadows, which were only used by Yahusha as cultural helps to illustrate a point, are all that is looked at. And Yahusha, who is the fulfillment and origin of every shadow, is actually ignored, whether intentionally or ignorantly. I'm not angry at you, brothers and sisters. I've done videos before where I've been angry. I'm not angry. I want you to come to the party. It's not just Shabuoth, the wedding anniversary, that's a party. Every feast is a party. Every time you meet, how many people that love Yahusha do you meet in your life? Anytime, any day of the week that you would run into somebody that wants to honour and esteem Yahusha and love you and greet you with a set-apart kiss. How are you, brother? How are you? What's going on? You know, anybody that you would meet in Yahusha is a party, isn't it? Because there's not many. There might be more in America than there are over here in Australia, but still, any day of the week where you're gathered together, where two or more are gathered, any day of the week where you are gathered with set-apart people, Yahusha's people that are going for it and serious about their belief, guarding the commandments, is a party, isn't it? It's amazing. So I'm not angry at you, brothers and sisters. I just want you to grasp this. We're all looking at shadows. We're all coming together talking about bread and wine and lamb. We've got to roast the perfect lamb. We've got to make unleavened bread. We've got to get coriander seeds, and we've got to do it like they did in the wilderness. We've got to, oh, please. Why do we have to eat cardboard? I'd rather eat, no, I don't. Don't eat anything. I would not eat that cardboard rubbish. Yuck. Is it possible? Is it possible to be doing what Scripture says, because it says it, but because of incorrect context, actually be observing with the old leaven? Here's the question. Is it possible to be doing what the text says and still be behaving and observing with old leaven? Yes, it is, I believe. Because it says, are you ready for this? But I threw it at you first to get your attention. Are you ready for this? The Passover is not about lambs. The Passover is not about unleavened bread. The Passover is not about blood or wine. The Passover is not about foot washing. The Passover is not even about Yahusha or the Exodus. And most certainly, the Passover is not about us or what we do or don't do when we gather. The Passover is nothing to do with any of that. The Passover is not even an event, a time or a season. Does that mean we could gather any time? Well, possibly. But if you know when the time is, why not gather then? Yeah? I don't think you'll be struck by lightning and not make the wedding feast if you gather the day after, the wrong day. But the moon, oh, look, the moon, you missed it. Get lost, you missed it. Please. Please. But if you do know the day, make an effort to get there. The Passover isn't about any of this stuff though. The Passover is a man. And when I wrote this paragraph here, I actually started to well up because, I don't know, the words just came to me from Yahusha and I just felt flooded by his love. Passover isn't about all those things that I said. Lambs and bread and wine and foot washing and Exodus and Yahusha. That was all circumstantial. That was all what he did for Passover back then, to wake them up and show them. We don't live back then. We don't have a Pharaoh. Spiritually, we have a Pharaoh, yes, we know. But we don't have the same thing they had, We live in 21st century circumstances and conditions and 21st century mindsets and lifestyle and slavery of our own, with lords and masters over us and governments, and regimes and taxes and all that. Passover isn't about any of those things. Passover is a man who humbly emptied himself as the creator of the universe to become our deliverance through one of the cruelest, brutal, horrific deaths in our history. And the reason? Because he loves us so much. Passover is only about deliverance and love. That's what Passover is about, deliverance and love. Because if there was no sacrifice, if Yahusha hadn't died, we could not be delivered. There would still be that gap between the dimensions. You love all that sci-fi, supernatural stuff. There's dimensions. Yahusha's not up in some cosmic heaven somewhere. That's pagan. Just a second, because the next door neighbour's decided to mow his lawn. So, brothers and sisters, understand that the Passover is all about deliverance and love in a 21st century context. Why? Because that's where we live. In these last days, I don't think we'll make it to another century myself. In the 21st century, how are we supposed to behave as emissaries of Yahusha? Are we supposed to do everything they did back then when we read it? Are we supposed to read it and go, oh, that's what they did, we have to do the same thing? Or are we supposed to take the everlasting commandments, instructions, covenant, and behave in a 21st century mindset? Can you understand that if we just came together and the only thing we did was feel his amazing, intoxicating love and just basked in the glow of the magnificence of his awesome presence, you know, where two or more are gathered. And we did nothing else. Yahusha would be so ecstatically happy with us because finally we knew what it was all about. Finally there's someone on this earth that's taken their eyes off the page. Someone who's stopped making lambs and someone who finally sees me. I'm the one doing all these shadows, he says, to try and wake. I did those shadows back then to wake up my people. But I'm here for you now. You've got my ruach inside you. You don't hear any big stories about Passover or Shabuoth or the trumpets, or they might be mentioned, but that you don't hear what they did or what happened after the ruach came into his believers, do you? You don't hear about it because they were too busy having Yahusha, you know. The Master was back in spirit inside them, you know, they were rejoicing. So you don't get a lot of liturgy mentioned after the book of Acts, do you? And there's a reason for that. But today, after the Dark Ages, after the Catholicism and the Reformation, and after the restoration of scriptures, and after this and this and this and this, we're still being restored, brothers and sisters, and nobody knows what to do. So we just come together and you must read this chapter of Matthew, of the account of Yahusha's death, and you should read a few of the Exodus scriptures, and you should hold up your wine and your bread, and you should drink it, and you should feel sorry for yourself because your Master died for you. It's time to come out of the liturgy, brothers and sisters. We've all been in it. We've all done it. It's time to come out and rejoice. Yahusha lives inside us. If we just came together and didn't worry about any of the other stuff, I'm not saying you can't have lamb. If you feel like eating a lamb, we eat lamb once a week or a couple of times a month. There's no big deal. Lamb's a lamb. It's not about what you eat. Do whatever you want at the feast. But if you have this feeling, if you're coming together in sincerity and truth, finally someone's got it, Yahusha's saying. Finally they understand it's not about the shadows. It's about me. Come together and talk about me. Come together and feel my love for you. Feel me. Feel what I'm about. Finally you can see me. And that's all he wants, for us to know him and understand what he did to gather us back unto himself as his bride. Every redemptive feast we observe until Yahusha returns is a dress rehearsal for the real wedding feast. Do you think we're all going to sit at the real wedding feast with our little prayer books, waiting for someone to finish spinning the lamb? No. There's not even going to be sun and moon. Why? Because they're symbols in themselves. They keep us warm. The sun keeps us warm, and the earth, and it's all balanced. But that's just a symbol in itself. The New Jerusalem's not even going to have a sun or moon because Yahusha is everything. He's the light. You don't need nothing when you're around him. And so we should start tapping into this understanding, brothers and sisters, now. Because every feast that we do is a dress rehearsal for the wedding feast. It's not about what you wear, it's not about what you eat. It's about how you feel and how you behave. What's more important, love and joy or ancient tradition and liturgy? Luke 22 verse 19, this is my body which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me. Do what? Do what? Break bread in remembrance of him? Drink red wine from one cup in remembrance of him? Only remember him at Passover? Do what? What is it we're supposed to do? Can you see how assuming ourselves into this story causes problems? He was talking to his emissaries. He wasn't talking to us. Do this in remembrance of me. Do what? How did this one little sentence get turned into a full-blown religious liturgy? Yahusha took whatever foods were being eaten at the time, at the table, in that moment, and used them as symbols to explain what was about to happen to him. He wasn't instituting an everlasting bread and wine ceremony. Please, I hope you can understand this, brothers and sisters. I'm not having a go at the scriptures at all. I live. The scriptures are life. They are food to me. I love the scriptures. But understand this. Go on this little journey with me, please. And bear with me. If Yahusha arrived today, if the scriptures were written today, if Yahusha went around trying to find 12 men to follow him, and if he arrived in 21st century planet Earth, how would he have behaved? Because, you know, to me, it's totally in the moment of what they were eating then and there. So today, I mean, if you went around looking for people today, they're probably people eating a piece of chicken, KFC. Not saying you should eat KFC, I'm just saying people do. That's the world we live in, that's the culture we live in today. People eat KFC, love the chicken, Kentucky Fried Chicken, love it. Not good for you, but people eat it. That's just a reality, that's what we eat. People sculling down some Red Bulls, yeah? Yahusha comes along, guys, I know it's not exactly like this, but guys, give me that piece of chicken you're eating, that KFC chicken, give me that. Throws it on the floor and he stamps on it. That's going to be what happens to me tomorrow. Give me that Red Bull. See that Red Bull? My blood's going to be shed like that tomorrow. So next year when we get together, because Yahusha's not in here, next year when we get together, we've got to make sure we get the KFC, just like Yahusha did, and we've got to get the Red Bull. All right, don't forget, don't come to the feast if you haven't got the Red Bull, all right? And then in 5 years, and 10 years, and then we teach our children, you can't do Passover without KFC chicken and Red Bull. It's just not going to work. And Yahusha's just going, oh. I just used that as an example, guys. You don't need to hold up bread and you don't have to use wine. You know, it's just an example. It's just because that's what we were eating that night. Yes, he used the significance of bread throughout the message because he was talking to those people and everything corresponded from the old to the new and all that stuff. It all lined up. You know, and same with the lambs. He was the spotless lamb. Isaac yelled out, where's the lamb that's going to be slain? And Yahusha was the answer to that question to Abraham. Yeah, we know all that stuff. That's interesting to go into all that. But I'm saying in a 21st century context, please tell me you're understanding this, brothers and sisters. I'm not trying to bastardize the scripture. I'm saying you need to live the scriptures in a 21st century context. I'm not saying you have to eat KFC and Red Bull either. I won't be. Can't stand it, the Red Bull. So I'm just saying, it's all, the symbol is circumstantial. Yahusha used symbols and parables that were circumstantial to the moment to affect his people in their everyday life. Not our everyday life. Our everyday life is very different to them back there. He uses symbols and illustrations all through our day if we're watching and looking for Yahusha in our day to affect us and get our attention in our everyday life. Symbols are used to affect us in our everyday life. The symbols were used in the old to affect them in the old. There's no such thing as old, but don't worry. And he uses, at the Last Supper, he used symbols to affect them. They still didn't understand it until it happened. He wasn't instituting an everlasting bread and wine ceremony. That is the most stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. I say that now, but I used to do it myself. The food and drink is unimportant. And Yahusha's followers didn't even get what he was talking about anyway until later. Yahusha used every customary practice of the era and culture to get their attention. All the daily routines surrounding his people in the natural food, clothing, crops, animals, family, laborious work, death, disease, etc. to show them a better way to live by bringing his loving kindness and instruction into their daily behavior. Bringing Yahusha's loving kindness and instruction into their daily behavior. That's what he's doing to us today. Bringing Yahusha's instructions, his everlasting covenant, into our everyday behavior today. So that we can be blessed and protected, not cursed and under his wrath. The same is true of the bride today, except Yahusha is using our daily lives here and now to get our attention. The whole concept of the lamb. Here we go with the lamb. Everybody's going on about the lamb, the lamb, the lamb, the lamb. The whole concept of the lamb. Are you ready for this? The whole concept of the lamb is only relevant during the first Exodus account. It's only relevant if we can see how Yahusha appeared after his death in the heavenly sanctuary as a lamb freshly slain. And all the other corresponding mentions of lambs throughout the scripture all pointed to this one event, a deliverance event. Lambs are no longer relevant to us. Only Yahusha is. Do you understand that? This story of Scripture started with a lamb. The people didn't know why they had to sacrifice a lamb. All they knew was if you didn't put all they knew was if you didn't put the lamb's blood on your doorposts, your firstborn's going to die. They did it out of fear and they did it out of obedience. They didn't understand why. It wasn't until thousands of years later when Yahusha presented himself in the other dimension, in the heavenly dimension, as the spotless lamb, a lamb freshly slain, I should say. He slain himself as a lamb freshly slain. Do we understand that? All right? Got it? It's not relevant to us today. It's interesting and it's fascinating how Yahusha fulfills every single thing. He's on point on everything. But it's not relevant to our 21st century life, lambs. Because Yahusha already presented himself in the heavenly sanctuary as the lamb freshly slain. Can you see how one fulfilled the other? It's been fulfilled. That feast has been fulfilled. So we no longer set up temples. We no longer set up animal sacrifices, lambs and everything. We no longer put blood on our doorposts. We don't have to do all that madness anymore. That was a shadow for them, not for us. Lambs are no longer relevant to us. Only Yahusha is. Yahusha was the lamb. Got it? Please say you got it. It's important to read and understand the significance of all Yahusha's signs and wonders and shadows throughout all the scriptures, fulfilled or not yet. The sincerity of Yahusha's love and favour and our responding behaviour, the resting, for instance, the resting on Messiah's bosom like John did, is so much more pleasing to our Master. His emissaries were over there having deep philosophical discussions about this, and John, 𝗬𝗔𝗔𝗏, was just resting on the bosom of Yahusha. Imagine having that relationship with Yahusha. He just might have his arm around you. Just imagine just resting there. Sounds to me like 𝗬𝗔𝗏 was a slightly younger man. He was a bit of a younger one. Just resting on Yahusha's bosom, just laying there, just lounging about, just in the love, you know? Imagine that. That's the lionizing love we want, brothers and sisters. They're looking to Yahusha. It's not about all this practical stuff. Having Yahusha. That's much more pleasing to our Master than all this liturgy. Yahusha would much rather the adults grow up and become mature, sensible, overcoming the obstacles, moving past the shadows to arrive at the feet of Yahusha himself and learn to behave as he did in sincerity and truth. Stop looking at the shadows and follow the shadow to its source and then say, yes, Father, what do you want me to do? It's all about your behaviour. You don't have to look at the moon, brothers and sisters. Please, please stop looking at the moon. Please stop arguing about the moon. It's irrelevant. If you get to the feast the day after, well, so what? The festival goes for a whole week. You know? I hope you're understanding this, brothers and sisters. You've got to live in the 21st century. The message of deliverance has to be brought into the 21st century. The message of deliverance hasn't changed, but it needs to be explained and brought into the 21st century. We don't go back 2,000 years and live like that. The message of deliverance is eternal. The message of deliverance comes forward to us and we behave it today. We don't go back then. We don't live like that. We don't behave like that. We don't do what they did. This message comes to us because that's how powerful it is. We don't go back. Oh, but we've got to return to the ancient paths. The path is the pathway of deliverance. The path is a behaviour. And it's a 21st century behaviour. Not like the world is in the 21st century, but Yahusha is in all of time. He is outside of time, brothers and sisters. His message doesn't change. So brothers and sisters, what's different about a feast that we can't do every other day? We're supposed to pray without ceasing, so it's not about coming together to pray, is it? We're supposed to read the scriptures and study to make thyself approved and all that. You're supposed to do that every day. So what's different? You don't come together at the feast to read, do you? That's a bit dull. So what is the one thing you can't do by yourself? Be with other people. So come together and be with other people and sense the moment. You don't have to have a plan. you know? Be in the moment. You don't have to have anything prepared. If someone suddenly comes along who's just been immersed, because you're not supposed to come to Passover if you're not immersed, if you're not part of the bride. If somebody comes along who's just been immersed and is not sure what it's all about, you can go onto Google and go, this is what it means. Or you can look up this article. There's lots of articles you can look up. You can play a video. You can do anything you want. Be in the moment. What do you want to do? Or if you're all learned and you've been doing this for 10, 20 years or so, just get together and have a good time. Yeah, well, it's been hard for us this last week. Yahusha's been doing this and Yahusha's been doing that, and such was furious about it, and the staff and the people at work and this and that. This is reacting, and children are doing this and then. It's just real. It's real. It's not religious. It's not liturgy. It's real. So this is the main point I want to make, brothers and sisters. Remember, we can't be sad while the bridegroom is still with us. And even though he was taken from us for a time, soon to return, he still dwells within us. That's why I was saying there's very little mention of the emissaries and what they did at feasts after the book of Acts. Is it left up to your imagination? Or is it just not that important what they did? You know? There was too many other things going on, like delivering the message of deliverance, you know, in that first century. So we don't have to be sad, you know? And it's not about us feeling sorrowful and mournful. Yahusha didn't do it for that. He had his moment of sorrow and mourning in the garden, and none of us have ever got to the point of being so overwhelmingly stressed that blood comes out of our pores. That's how stressed he was. He went through that moment, and then he went there. And Satan could not defeat him. Satan put everything he could on that man, whipped him, stuck thorns in his head, did everything to him. Imagine it in a modern day setting. Whipped him, beat him up, shot bullets through him. They did everything they could to him, but he was still alive and breathing until he said, "It is finished." Until he said, not the enemy, not the Romans, not the Yahudim, not the high priest, nobody, no. I am doing this. I am the deliverer, and I'll die when I'm damn ready. And I'm ready now. It's finished. This madness that you've done to my earth, to my people, to my bride, it's finished. Shalom. It's finished. Peace. He did it, brothers and sisters. He went there. Why? For the joy. And if we don't have any joy at our gatherings, if we don't feel any joy, what was it for? The deliverance. What was it for? If we don't feel any joy. His deliverance has washed us clean. Created in us a new heart, with his commandments written on our hearts. That's the whole purpose. There's no point of any other feast leading up to the wedding feast. And there's no point of any redemptive feast if we can't feel joy at the Passover, because he is the Passover. I hope what I'm saying today, brothers and sisters, goes in. I hope my crazy Aussie accent and strange sense of humour is not deterring you from this truth that I feel very strongly about. Because you don't have to be a believer 2,000 years ago, because the message comes to us. The message goes through time. The message will still be the same outside of time, because the message is him, and he doesn't change. His shadows, his illustrations, his parables, his ceremonies are circumstantial to get our attention in the moment. They change, but he doesn't change. And his commandments, his everlasting instructions do not change. That's why when you read the scriptures, you need to read it from the perspective of the Ruach inside you. Not from that's what such and such said in that teaching, and that's what such and such said in that teaching. No. You got to read it from the perspective of what the Ruach's saying to you today. Because the meanings are hidden and only revealed by the Ruach. Brothers and sisters, the behaviour revolution is not here to tell you you're wrong, but to get out of the doorway and reveal the amazing freedom We don't want to stand here and say, come to us. Look, we've got the patent and the copyrights on all the teachings. We're the first and this and that and this and that and da 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 da. You know, what for? We're just here to say, oi! And then get out of the way and say, look, Yahusha's there. You know? Passover time. Come together. Yahusha's here. No, we're, you know, got our nice lamb on a spit. And then we're going to do our prayers with the bread and the wine. You know? I'm not mocking you, brothers and sisters. I'm just saying, guess who's here? He's here because he's alive in us. And particularly where two or more are gathered, he's alive. It's a joyous festival. Come together. No liturgy, no plan. No, just come together and see what's going on. See what you want to do. And you might end up talking about something totally different. You might end up studying if it goes on longer. You don't have to stay up and watch as well. I forgot about that. The vigil. What's the vigil? The vigil, you don't have to stay up till midnight and all night. Another shadow. Go to bed at a reasonable hour and don't do silly things. You know? You don't have to stay up all night. Yahusha's followers had to stay up all night because they were watching, because the Romans were coming to arrest Yahusha. And Yahusha said, just keep watch for me. You know? We are Natsrim, we are watchmen, we are watching for the return of Yahusha, watching in the earth all the madness that's happening, knowing that it could be any day now. Because it's so ridiculous. Sodom and Gomorrah, just like the days of Noah. We're watching the signs and the seasons, yeah? We're watching all the time. You don't have to physically stay up all night on Passover, reading as much scripture as you can. You know? That's back then. We live here and now. And the only thing important here and now is Yahusha and his deliverance. Yahusha and his deliverance. Remember that. That message has gone and will span the test of time. Yahusha and his deliverance. So bring Yahusha into a modern day setting and say, what would Yahusha do if he was here? What would Yahusha do if he was right here today? Would he be talking about lambs and blood and bread and... No. He'd probably say, yeah, that was hideous what I went through back then. Absolutely hideous. But I did it for you. How do you feel about it? What do you need to do to get closer to me, brother, sister? It's real, it's sincere. The behaviour revolution is not here to tell you you're wrong, but to get out of the doorway and reveal the amazing freedom and liberty available to Yahusha's chosen bride if she would just continue to come out, continue to overcome and enter into the throne room boldly and just have it. Have him. Have him, brothers and sisters. You're allowed to have him. Whether you live by yourself, whether it's just you and your spouse, everybody, this is what's happened. Remember? The remnant is hidden so the dragon can't find her. The remnant is hidden. Yahusha's bride is hidden so the dragon can't find her. So, we're free. Passover is about deliverance, freedom. Yahusha died to set us free. He who the Son sets free is free indeed. Oh, look at that. I just quoted a scripture. So, we're free, brothers and sisters. Be free. You don't have to go out and do witnessing. You are a witness. And if you're trying to catch a fish, you've got to know your landscape. You already know what your bait is. You already know what the message is, the deliverance. You've got to know your landscape. You've got to know your workplace. You've got to know your community. And then you just got to shut up and wait and love and behave properly. How do we behave properly? Yahusha's given the behaviour revolution 3 amazing rules to let everybody have everything. That's how you love them. Leave them alone. Shut up and wait and leave everybody alone and just be kind. Genuine. Truthful and genuine. Doesn't mean you can't tell the truth. Doesn't mean there's not arguments at times. But you're not full of these judgments and angers and hates because you're letting everybody be who they want to be. You're accepting that person. If that person stood right in front of you, you are accepting everything about them. Not agreeing with everything. You're accepting them. Letting them know that you accept them. And therefore, you're not taking anything they say personally because they're allowed to say what they're allowed to say. They're a human being. They've got rights and they're allowed to say what they want to say. I accept what you're saying. I'm letting you have it, and am I letting that person have it? Am I taking anything they're saying personally? Don't make excuses for yourself. Oh, I didn't really do it because of that. I did it because I had to do it. No, that's an excuse. What's the real truth? What's the truth? Don't make excuses. What's the truth? We put these 3 rules onto ourselves, brothers and sisters. Yahusha gave us these rules in a 21st century setting because it's all the scriptures rolled up into one behavior. 3 rules. It's easy, brothers and sisters. You can do this. Please do this. It's for your freedom. I love you, brothers and sisters. I really hope you can receive this. I hope your eyes are open to this. I hope you can receive it the way it's meant to be. Come together in sincerity and truth. No liturgies, no plans, no schedules. Yeah? And enjoy yourself. It's all about joy. I love you, brothers and sisters. So be it.